today. So I've been asked a lot of questions in the comments from people interested in wild basketry, who are really curious to learn more and would like to know what wild plants I'm using and what's possible. So I thought I'd make a little video just to share a few of these with you, because it's such a wonderful craft. It's so accessible for everybody, and there's always something different locally to where you are. I'll show you around my new little workshop, and you can have a little look at some of the plants I'm using. So here we've got hanging down, which I've recently transferred onto these clothes hanging trolley rack type thing, and I've just tied them up onto those so they can just hang down and dry. And this is a plant called sweet flag, which is a water plant similar to rush, and wonderful for weaving with. It's one of my favourite materials for weaving with. If you come down here, we've got, these are daffodil stems which were collected back in spring, and then laid out to dry, and they are just there ready for when I want to incorporate them into one of my baskets. Similarly, we have, sorry, I'll just move these out of the way. Similarly, we have in here we have dandelion stems, and these are absolutely beautiful. Again, obviously collected in spring, after they finish flowering. Collect the long stems, the longest possible stems you can find, and then just lay them out to dry, and then they will eventually turn this lovely golden colour, and when you're ready to use them again, you'll just simply rehydrate them, so you can spray them with just a little spray of water just to rehydrate them, to make them flexible again. And then under here we have another one of my favourites. They're all my favourites, to be honest. Is corn husk, which some of these I've had that have lasted me over the last few years, actually, so they can store for a very long time. But you simply just take the husk off, the outer husk off the corn once it's ripe, and then leave them to dry, and then just rehydrate when required to use. Some of them will go this lovely purpley colour as well, and I tend to find that if I dry them out in full sun, they will go a lot darker than if I just dry them out in a shady spot. So you can get a good variety of shades and that sort of thing, depending on how you dry them. And it's all trial and error, you know. You just have to experiment. It's one of these things that you'll learn more each year. Next, there's a variety of bark which I've collected. be careful not to squash my dandelions. So we've got a selection here. There's all sorts: willow, chestnut, cherry, sycamore, all sorts. Those are probably the ones I found to be the most usable in wild basketry. Willow is probably the easiest to come by and one of the most straightforward to work with and process. That's done around May time, when the sap is rising, which makes the bark possible to remove easily. So that's those, which look beautiful on basketry borders. And obviously I've made some baskets entirely from bark, which I will share in a video at some point. Got some lovely chestnuts. And then here we have hanging to dry, which was harvested about a month ago, is these beautiful cattails, or reeds, you might know them as. And I just love the colours of these, especially when you contrast them with this beautiful sweet flag. Yeah, so these are great for basket bases and just general weaving of baskets. And again, I've got more sweet flag here, which is been drying for a lot longer. I think some of this is actually a year old now, so you've got more of a golden colour. And obviously, you know, it does fade over time. So it starts off quite green, but it will fade over time. And then on the very messy desk area, I've got some, this is called pampas grass, which is probably not that common. We're in Wales in the UK, so this was actually growing on an estate on the land where I used to live, so it was quite easily accessible to me. But again, you just look what's local to you, because there will be different things that have similar properties, but they're more accessible to you, obviously. I've also got some vines here. So I've got some bramble vines. I've actually got some ivy there as well. But so now autumn is a good time to collect the long branches of bramble, and then you want to wind them up in a hoop shape for storage. And then when you're ready to use them, you can just rehydrate to construct your basket. When it comes to foraging for things like bramble, nettles, dandelions, etc., if you're making cordage and things like that, for processing, you want to be collecting those in springtime. But when you're making, when you're wanting the vines for making the structure of the basket, the base, etc., then you want the autumn harvest. Another one of my favourites, which I know they're all my favourites, but another one of my favourites is yucca, which is wonderful. You can actually use it fresh, or you can dry it. This is the dry version. yeah, I don't have any fresh at the moment. I was lucky enough to have access to a lot of it at one point, so I have a lot stored, but I've also recently got a yucca plant. It's a bit small at the moment, but hopefully I'll be able to take some from that as it gets bigger. Also, similarly, there's a plant called cordyline, which is this one. I have a red one, which I've recently purchased, so I can incorporate some of this into my baskets. You can see it starts to die off and go brown here, and then you can just pull these bits off and then put them away and store them ready for a later day. I find that with yucca especially, that it's very good as a substitute for bark when you're making a base. It can be a lot more simple and straightforward to use yucca, in terms of it doesn't break so easily. It's more flexible in some ways. The only difference being, I would say, is that bark is overall stronger. So this is one of my favourite things that I've made, which is a bag, which is yucca on the base, and then we have sweet flag coming up around the sides, and then we have another piece of yucca going along the central area, and then you can incorporate little things like this is just a little bead made from willow bark, corn husk cordage, some pampas grass. That is actually, I think, spider plant cordage, which is another one. You can use house plants for some of these. I won't go into that now, but because I'm just concentrating on wild stuff at the moment. And then we have a lovely bark border here and some spruce roots, which are a really good strong thread to hold and secure the base in place. Another plant that I haven't mentioned yet, which is here, is plantain stems, which I do have some over here somewhere. Oh yeah, so they're here, just under here. You can see these here. And again, I harvest these in late spring, and a bit later than dandelions and daffodils, and they go very nice and shiny, and they're really lovely to weave with. So, and then this is one of my baskets that's made of bark. It's not perfect, but yeah, it's these are the kinds of things you can experiment with. An even bigger one here, and then I end up using my baskets to store my basket related materials. So there's a lot of fibres ready to be processed here into cordage. I think that is a bramble fibres. Then we have some little cute little baskets like this one, which is just yucca and rush and a bit of plantain. So it's, yeah, there's a lot to be going on with. It's a lot to take in, but it's never boring. There's always something, some interesting style, texture, and practical use for what you're making. So it's really, really worth exploring if you're remotely interested. Well, I really hope that was helpful. Please feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and I will do my best to advise.